for you. My email address is revtpaul@aol.com. That's REV as in Victor, T as in Timothy, PAUL@aol.com. And I'd love to answer any of the questions that you may have concerning this class and this topic. Do our best because most importantly, I'm passionate about us coming to an understanding, an awakening, a knowledge, an acceptance of the truth, this great aha moment that opens up our lives to our highest and best. So let's dig in. Well, the author begins this chapter with a beautiful psalm, Psalm 107, verse 20. It says, "He sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destructions." He sent forth his word, meaning he transmitted the consciousness of health, and it awakened the matching vibration in the person to whom it was sent. This beautiful psalm is talking about the power of prayer in our lives. That as we're praying for someone who may not be with us in the room, we're sending forth a prayer thought for someone who is across town, in another room, another place, another city, across the world. We're sending forth the word held in mind, the consciousness that we have of healing for them. And as we do, that this consciousness that we're holding of the highest and best for that person, it awakens a matching vibration in the person to whom it's sent. Because this wonderful power of thought is a vibrational frequency that's moving out, and it's vibrating at a wonderful level that it's coming across to that person to receive this thought that's being transmitted, this very word that's being spoken, this very consciousness that's being held in mind of healing, of health, of prosperity, of success, of love, whatever it may be. And what happens is that person then will receive this vibration, and a matching vibration will rise up within that person. So you know how it is that you may hit a gong, and the vibrational frequency goes out, and it hits something else, and it also starts to vibrate. We know that many times as this vibrational frequency goes out, it touches something and it causes something else to vibrate. The vibrational frequency of a soloist singing a beautiful operatic number with all the vibration of the vocal cords going forth and sending vibrational frequency, sometimes hitting a high note that causes a glass to vibrate at such frequency, it shatters. Because it's received the vibration of that beautiful soprano soloist, that high-pitched sound. It received it, and a matching vibration is found within that glass, and it shatters. So what we find is that this is how the power of prayer works within our life. So let's talk about how to pray successfully. For many times, we don't receive the answer that we are seeking because we're wrongly speaking or wrongly praying, or as the scripture says, we ask amiss. Meaning that we're just not approaching prayer through the proper method, shall we say. A wonderful avenue of prayer that is wide and open for us, but we're missing that pathway, we're missing that road, and we're not praying successfully. Now, James chapter 4, verse 3 states this, that ye ask and you receive not, because you're asking wrongly or asking amiss. So here's some key things that we must know when we go to prayer. You must know what you want before you can ask for it. And this is so true because a lot of times people will go into prayer and they're kind of him-hawing around with the universe, shall we say. Well, God, I'd kind of like this, kind of like that, maybe something of this, and we're not really specific and naming that which we so desire to unfold within our lives. So the power of being specific and knowing what you want is so important as you enter into prayer. Do you know specifically what you want? Then it says you must know what you want before you can feel that you have it. So that's so true because if you don't know specifically what you want, you don't know how to feel about it or how it feels to have it. So this is why it's really important, and we have this discussion over and over in our classes as we're talking about, sometimes we hold in mind something and we have a visual of it and we want just that. But that visual sort of holds in mind the description of what we'd like, but we're open to the Spirit unfolding that which we so desire in even higher and better ways. So we say this or something better, but we need to know first, what is the this? And if we haven't held in mind the this, how can we know there's something better? So we've got to have the this to begin with. So we begin by saying, this is what I would want, and this is how I feel it would be if I received it. So, here's an interesting scenario, as some people have said, oh, I saw this man, and a woman saying, I wanted to marry him. I wanted him so badly. That was going to be my life partner. And without thinking a little bit more or knowing that man, she began to claim that person, and they began to fall in love. They got married, and 6 months into the marriage, whoa, what did I ask for? This is not anything like what I thought it was going to be, because I didn't really address the feeling. So let's go back, and if that woman had it beginning to say, I see this man as a likeness or image of that which I would like, and this is how I feel if I were in a relationship with someone like that. I would feel secure. Feel a sense of partnership and equality. I would feel the sense that my feelings are as important as his. And I would feel that he is making me feel important. I would feel his kindness and his love. I would feel his protection. All these kind of emotions that we'd be feeling, and that describes, and then the universe says, well, it could be this, but I can, now that you describe the feeling and you have this image set before you of what you like, now how about there's something better? And fits that description. So we must know what we want before we ask, and we must know how it would feel to receive it or to have it before we pray. So successful prayer is knowing coupled with the feeling of fulfilled desire. So what we want to do in prayer is to do the work of releasing all doubts, that which we are seeking is a doubt that would say that which we're seeking is not ours. But we want to remove that doubt to say that which I'm seeking is already mine. For when you emerge from prayer, you no longer see, or seek, I should say, for you have. You no longer seek, but you have, if you prayed correctly. Subconsciously, you have already assumed the reality of the desired outcome. So you already start, when you go into prayer, and maybe you're praying for that perfect partner, spouse, husband, or wife, and you're praying for that, you are now claiming it, describing, maybe holding in mind an image of that person, but also, more importantly, the feeling of what it would be like to be wed to that wonderful person, of life, living 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, etc., living with that person. And when you emerge from your prayer, you're no longer seeking, you're now living in the assumption, living in the feeling as if it is already manifested for you, and you now go about living your life as if the answer has already been manifested for you. Because we can't say this enough, the answer to your prayer is in the prayer. So how are you praying? If you're praying affirmatively, you're saying the answer is, I have this wonderful spouse, and I am married, and I feel this wonderful joy of this lifelong relationship. So that prayer is already speaking affirmatively the answer. Again, a prayer that might be asking amiss is that prayer that says, well, God, I'm not sure what I want, but I kind of want a spouse, but maybe I'm not really that certain about a spouse. He or she could be this or that, and I don't really know how I feel about it, but whatever you provide for me is just fine. I'm just whatever. And there's all these maybes and uncertainties, and we have also maybe coupled it with some doubt, like, I don't know if this is really ever going to happen or if it's really going to be real. Because what I find is a lot of people may voice something, but behind that voice, behind which they've spoken, isn't a belief that's full of doubt and question. So, being a pastor, sometimes people will tell me what they think I want to hear. So I'll say, well, do you believe? Oh, yes. Do you believe that the answer is going to be, sure. Do you believe that, it's already accomplished? Oh, yes, Pastor. That's fine. But behind those words are, well, I'm not really certain, and I'm not really sure, and I'd like to, but I'm not 100% confident. So what happens is the real feeling is behind those words, and those words are coming out and they're falling flat. They're falling short of power and authority that is needed behind them to bring about the answer that you need. So it has to be that we go within that which we know that God has already provided for us is ours, and what does it feel like? So what does it feel like to have the answer to your healing? What does it feel like to be 100% whole? Go there in mind and embrace that thought. Embrace that feeling. I am well. I am healed. My body is feeling strength. I feel 100% confident that I am moving. My body is in complete perfection. Whatever it may be, go to that place and hold those thoughts. Hold them long enough until they have sort of removed any doubts or any fears or any questions. And so it's that we pray in the sense that we are seeking and we are knocking, and we got to keep seeking and knocking until we feel the feeling of having received. Because people will say to me, how often do I need to pray about this? Well, you pray until you feel you've received it. Wow. What's that like? That's a lot of work to do, to pray to feel like I've received it, but that's faith at work. And if you don't have that kind of faith, well, then what's really accomplished in your life? You're just voicing thoughts and ideas and hopes and wishes and maybes, but how about certainty? So you begin to seek and you begin to knock. You begin to look for and you begin to knock until it is opened unto you and you have received it. And that's when you have this wonderful completion in prayer, a prayer that says, once you've set in mind the vibrational frequency that I'm living as if the answer is already there, you are attracting the answer to you. You're sending out a vibrational frequency that will find its match, and it will resound in frequency, and it will echo back to you. You will attract it. It will come to you. This is the science of our spirituality. This is the science of our thinking. This is the science of mind at work within our lives. So what we understand is that our work is to release all of this doubt. And we've got to do that work because quite often we are people of prayer who are wavering in our faith. And we allow the voice of doubt to be entertained. That monkey mind chatter that wants to come to us all the time. And constantly say things like, that's lovely, you pray that, but do you really think it's going to happen? Are you really certain it's going to be so? Do you really believe this to be true? And so there's all this questioning and doubt. And you're like to say, I'm believing for my prosperity. And they go, yeah, well, how? Yeah, tell me. And that thought in mind says, how are you going to be prosperous? Where do you think that money's coming from? You're going to get a fourth job? What do you think? Are you crazy? You don't have the power, you don't have strength. And so the how is that little questioning doubt that wants to come and say, you got to tell me the how. But remember, the how is not ours. We're not to be concerned with the how. Our work is the trust. So again, you may be praying for healing in your body. And that voice says, yeah, well, how's healing going to come? You've been trying this medicine, you tried that therapy, you tried this, you went to this doctor, you went to that doctor. How do you think it's going to come? And so we get caught up and doubt begins to be entertained within our mind. But instead we dismiss all doubt. We say, I don't need to know the how. The universe knows the how. And that's the universe's job, not mine. So my job is to trust, Every little child growing up in a home just knows that provision is going to be made for them and their family. In a healthy home environment, they don't go to mommy and daddy and say, Mommy, Daddy, how are you going to pay the mortgage? I need to know how. How are you going to provide gas for the car? I need to know this. Before we move forward, before I go off to school today, I need you to explain all the hows. No, the child just says, I know that mommy and daddy are taking care of me. How? That's up to them. I don't need to know that. So the same thing is for us in prayer. We know that the universe is guiding us and taking care of us at all times. When we understand that, we know that the how is not for our thought process. It is simply the believing, Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own your own understanding, your own thoughts about how, and in all your ways acknowledge God, and God will direct your paths. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, a favorite passage. Let's look at our scripture lesson today as it comes from Luke chapter 1, verse 37, that really emphasizes this chapter and its teaching for us. No word of God shall be void of power. When we're speaking the word, and the God presence is within us, so you are speaking this word of the divine. As you're acknowledging the God within you is this wonderful power and essence. You are speaking the word. You're speaking the word of divine power of the universe, and you speak it in prayer, knowing in complete confidence, in faith that is assured, faith that is so feeling the assumptions that it is so. Well, you feel the desired outcome then. So you speak the word in that way, and no word that is spoken in that manner shall be void of its power. So it's a word that you're speaking with powerful intensity of belief. This I know to be true. This I believe is so. And from this I live, and this is how I live, as I demonstrate that which I've spoken to be true. Anne has a question.
I was reading this morning that when we think with the mind of God, and that's just a step back from what you're saying. But if we're thinking with doubtful thoughts, it's not of God.
Right. Doubtful thoughts are not of God. Anne is saying that when we think with the mind of God. And so when we're thinking with the mind of God, it's always going to be positive and affirmative. So when we think negatively and with doubt, yes, you're right. Great comment. We're now thinking outside the mind of God.
So then the word is the form.
Right. We're speaking forth, yes, that which we've held in mind. Excellent, thanks. Anyone else have some comments? Please type them in. And our registrar, David Carter, is here, and he's going to be watching on our video screens to alert us if there are any other questions coming to us from our live audience. We appreciate it. We also have those in our classroom today that are also interacting, and we appreciate their questions and comments that make this a great learning experience. So let's move on. Now, there is a strong analogy between the spoken voice and the mental voice. To think is to speak low, and to speak is to think loud, okay? So there's this wonderful connection. We are giving voice when we hold things in thought, in the low voice. We are giving voice to things when we speak them out loud and give them a vibrational frequency that's flowing out into the world. Thought is voice. Voice spoken is also that which is of a vibrational voice that goes out into the world, into the universe. So we see this wonderful connection that what we are thinking is actually sending out a vibrational frequency as well. Thought is going out from us in a vibrational frequency as well to the world, because you have experienced thoughts of fear. And what happens? A dog may pick up on that, sensing your fear. We know that animals and nature pick up on the vibrational thoughts that are going on within our very being. So it's almost as if they're hearing the frequency or the vibrational level that's coming from our lives. I don't know that my dog, Bailey, understands my form of language, English. I don't speak dogese, so we have a little trouble communicating, you might say, in the verbal sense. But I feel he picks up on the vibrational frequencies of that which I'm conveying to him. He understands the voice inflection. He understands, and he certainly understands the loving nature that's radiating from me when I'm holding him, petting him, stroking his head, when I'm just loving him non-verbally. He understands. He picks up. There's a communication going on between this living being and that living being. So there is this wonderful connection between the spoken voice and the mental voice. Now, to change the world, you must first change your conception of it. Now, wouldn't we all like to change the world? Oh boy, let's start to right here and now. We'd all like to make some changes, wouldn't we? But to begin to make any kind of change in the world, you must first change your conception of it. To change a man or a woman, you must change your conception of them. You must believe him or her to be the person that you want him or her to be, and mentally talk to them as though they were just that. All men and women are succinctly and sensitive to reproduce the beliefs that you have about them. So let me just give you an example. How many of you saw the movie The Help? And therein, the maid is speaking to her employer's child, a beautiful little girl, and saying, "You is kind, you is smart, you is important." Speaking these words to a child to describe how you see them and the desire that you have for them instills within them this wonderful vibrational frequency of a sense of, oh, I am smart, I am kind, I am important. Wow! And begins to embody a belief in that child. How many just the same, have you heard of parents telling their kids, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're a failure, you're never going to go anywhere, and the child begins to live from that kind of perspective and reinforce those kind of thoughts. There's a story of a teacher who was working with failing students. She had a class full of kids that were just barely making a D- and most an F all the time, failing in every class subject. She began to change her language and her belief around each one of her students. And every night she called out their name in thought and in prayer, holding out and seeing them in their highest and best, seeing them as successful and achieving a great goal, achieving A's and being students who are learning and receiving successfully the education. And in each class setting, she began to tell the kids, I'm so impressed with you. I see you as amazing students. I love the journey of learning that you're on, and I see you achieving great goals. And I applaud your level of intelligence that's unfolding as it right before our eyes in class. Let's all give each other applause and support this. And at the end of this quarter, all of our students had moved up their grade level. By the end of 6 months, those students were all passing successfully and moving towards being A students. And at the end of the year, they all accomplished great goals because it was instilled with them in thought and in word. She began to see them, to conceptualize, to change her conception about each one of the students, and began to see them as successful. So in prayer, one of the things that we do is we're transmuting this thought. We're sending it across the universe. We're doing a transmission of thought, I want to say. What we're doing is we want to hold in mind a concept of seeing the answer already completed, seeing it in a way that we see the highest and best for that person. So as I'm praying for people, I pray for our congregants. They're not in the room with me. I'm at home. I'm holding in mind their success, their highest and best, their health, their wholeness, their wellness, their prosperity. I see it. I see it in each one. And I speak the words as I name those members of our congregation and those who are attending City of Light and connected with this ministry. I constantly see them as the successes unfolding in their life or the healing that they need. And I begin to visualize from that and begin to believe and hold in heart that that's exactly what's happened already for them. So the change that comes about is in my conception. And what happens is, as I begin to see them this way and speak of them in this way, they begin to respond in this way. We see success unfolding in our lives. This is why one of the important things that we do here at City of Light is our ministry to the hungry and the homeless, and instilling in them this sense of belief that they can achieve great things. Is this, and we demonstrate it through the love that we share, the food, the clothing, all the things that we do in care and compassion for them. We do this because we believe in you. That's right. It's not the haves giving the have-nots. It's us instilling in them the belief that they already have. They just need to go within and discover within them this amazing power and strength to be the best that they can be. So what we're doing is offering tangible ways of gifts of love that can help to demonstrate to them the belief that we have about each and every one who is hungry and or homeless, who is struggling or going without, who is living in the world of consciousness around their lack, to help them understand that there is a bounty and a blessing awaiting for them. They just need to begin to open their mind. As we see them in new ways, they begin to see themselves in new ways. So if the change is not reproduced visibly in the person to whom you sent this affirming word, you sent out this prayer of healing for someone or prosperity for someone, or you're holding this very thought and consciousness of success or loving relationships for them, whatever it may be, if it's not happening within their life, well, the cause can be found in you. That's right. What's happening is we have to ask, did you really believe it? Because you may hold all these wonderful thoughts in prayer and say, I'm believing for the prosperity of our homeless, and the thought behind it is, yeah, good luck with that. Like they're going to get a job, or they're going to find a way to get out of their alcoholism and their pit that they're living in the belief that they're unworthy of success and blessing. So what happens is we have to go back and really check to say, is there some element within my own life that doesn't truly believe this and has not accepted it 100% to be true? Because if that's the case and it's not 100% believed and accepted to be true, then that what you're putting out, that prayer that you're offering, is then falling flat and it's not being received. Because happens the frequency, the energy level that's going in, doesn't have a force behind it, pushing it enough of the force, or should we say the energy and the power of belief that is a vibrational frequency that says, this I know to be true. And if that's not there, then what happens is these words go out, but they quite often fall short of achieving the goal. So what we want to do is go back, ask ourselves, did I really believe it? Did I believe it so that I see them already living as if? Prayers depend upon your attitude of mind, for their success is going to happen based on this attitude that you have, and it's not upon the attitude of the subject. So, quite often you may be praying for someone, but your work that you begin in praying or offering prayer treatment, affirming prayer for someone, begins with your attitude that you're holding in mind that this is already true for this person. I see it already completed. They may not see it already completed within themselves, but you do. And that's the beginning of sending forth this powerful frequency, this great vibrational energy that is transformational within a person's life. So as soon as you believe in the truth of the state affirmed, results will follow. That's the way it works. That's a scientific understanding for us to embrace as we study how spirituality unfolds in our lives. And we begin to embrace this. We say, as soon as you believe it's true, that state begins to become affirmed, begins to happen for us. Transformation then is possible because every thought can be transmitted and every thought can be visibly embodied. So words spoken in strong conviction, spoken in great belief, spoken with feeling and knowing, well, they awaken what they affirm. They'll awaken it in someone else. And I can't tell you how important it is that we do this spiritual work of awakening the highest and best in one another. It's really important that we understand this. How are we awakening the highest and best? Because let me tell you this, as we awaken higher things in understanding in someone else, what happens is what we put out comes back to us. They have a higher level of understanding, a great awakening, and their thoughts and conceptions of you and ideas of you change. And what happens is you begin this sort of back and forth elevation that goes on, shall we say. Let's just say I'm going to speak the wonderful words, conviction and belief and knowing that I see Amy as successful and prosperous. And every time I see Amy, I say, wow, you look fabulous. You look so successful. You look so prosperous. What's going on in your life? Because I see prosperity just all around you. I see love coming from you and surrounded around you. I see so many great things. The more I begin to affirm that, the more Amy begins, wow, there's success around me? Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I did have a successful moment, or, what, there's prosperity? Well, I found an extra $5 in my wallet. And she begins to now think and begins to move from that level higher and higher and higher. And before you know it, because of this wonderful voice of affirmation given to her, she begins to feel the love within her own life, and she reflects it right back and says, hey, Dr. Paul, I just appreciate you, and I see prosperity in you. And before you know it, then I, should we say, ping pong back and forth, and I hit the ball right back to Amy, and Amy hits the ball back to me. And before you know, what we're doing is we're raising the tide where all boats rise together. So I want to encourage you to remember this, though. If you're holding on to thoughts of the past, what's going to happen is those vibrational thoughts are going to repeat. Oh, we've got a question over here.
Your student, Robin Lentz, said that has worked well for her and Della for the last 42 years.
Wonderful. Robin, great to have you with us. And I appreciate your comment that it's worked back and forth. Is it this wonderful affirmation of love going back and forth? Is that it? That's happened for you and Della? Yeah. Wonderful. I'm glad that you're joining us in the class. Great to see you. Great to have you here. And I hope you're having a great day. I know you're having a great day. Because I'm having a really good day because I know that you're here with us. Thanks. It's great to see you. Robin and Della were congregants of mine years ago in All God's Children in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So it's great to have you joining the class. So what we want to remember this, that if you're holding onto thoughts of the past, you're going to return to that state in mind. The scripture says, remember not the former things, neither consider that things of old. So don't get stuck in the past, because here's one of the things that we quite often may do in our prayer life. Say, well, I prayed for prosperity and I didn't get prosperity. So my prayer for prosperity now probably isn't going to work for me. It's not going to, so we're holding on to a past experience. Remember, we may have had some times in our prayer life where we felt like that we weren't successful in prayer, but let that go and not dwell on these experiences where you weren't successful. Know that every day is new and fresh. So begin that prayer from a new perspective, not from the old perspective. Anne has a question today.
So biblically it says that God is going before us and preparing the path for us. So
yes.
Why would we ever want to go back? But I also like the Proverbs that says, ponder the path of thy feet. And that, so if you're pondering it, you're in God's mind and you're going forward. It just all logical.
Let me reiterate for those of you who are watching us through our live streaming what Anne just said. Let's see if I can remember it all. You started with God goes before us and prepares the way for us. So why would we ever dwell in the past, is her comment. Because, God's always making the way fresh and new. And we find these beautiful passages of scripture says, behold, I make all things new. Yeah. God is ever causing the evolution and the evolving of the soul within us, or facilitating that for us so that it's possible for us to do just that. So let's not get caught stuck in our past, because what's going to happen is we're just going to replicate that. So I want you to remember these things that are really important. One, remember, nothing can be added to man or woman because the whole of creation is already perfected in him or her. Do you understand that when you were created, everything that you need, everything you desired is within you, shall we say? You desire maybe more patience, it's already within you. Desire more love, it's already within you. You desire more ability to forgive, it's already within you. You've already been equipped with it. You didn't arrive on this planet. You didn't come to this moment, to this time, unequipped. You are fully equipped. It's just simply us acknowledging all the great tools that we've been given in life already. So you've already come into this world as a perfected creation. God don't make no junk. No, God's created that which is complete and whole and perfect. So there's nothing more that can be added to us. We don't need to add something. We need to awaken what's already there. So often people are saying, I need to add more confidence to my life. I need to add more patience. I need to add this. No, you need to awaken what's already there. Begin to use what you have, and the more you use what you have, the more it grows, and the more it releases that's within you. It's kind of like muscles. You know, people say, oh, I'm so weak, I can't lift anything. But if you use the muscles you have, you exercise them. And the more you exercise them, the more they expand, the more they grow. You already have muscle. But to have great muscle, you begin to use what you have. You don't pray and say, oh, give me muscle, give me muscle. You were created with muscle. Use what you have. So when we understand this, we understand that we can receive nothing except it be given from heaven. Wait a minute, let's explain that one, because that sounds a little confusing. We can receive nothing unless it comes from heaven, because let's define heaven. Heaven is within. The kingdom of heaven is within. The dwelling, the realm of God is within. Within is your subconsciousness. So you can receive nothing except it comes from your subconsciousness, deep within you. Now, what we want to understand then is that if we're going to awaken something, we got to go deep within our life. We have to awaken within that which is already there. And that's where we receive more of, shall we say, or begins to unfold. So we're going in with our subconscious and we're saying there is great love within us. There's great peace within us. There's great perfection within us. And I just receive, I'm receiving nothing, but I'm unfolding more of it. I'm utilizing it more. I hope that makes sense. If you got questions around that, please, just everyone good with that here in the classroom with us, all of our students? Great. If you have questions, please just take a moment to send off a little note to us, and we'll address that to our best of our ability. Now, the person you are praying for has no power to resist your controlled, subjective ideas of him and her, unless the state of your affirming true is a state that he or she is incapable of wishing as true for another. Wow. Now the author puts this long statement out there. What is he really saying is, don't pray for someone or believe for someone or put out this thought into the universe for something that you wouldn't want for yourself, because they may not receive this thought. And what happens is that it just bounces right back to you. So you're saying, again, because quite often we may use the example of revenge prayers. Oh, this person hurt me. I just pray and believe that they suffer. Well, that kind of prayer is going to go forth, and that person's not going to say, oh, yeah, I received that prayer. I'm waiting to suffer. I'm looking forward to thank you for praying for me that I would suffer. No, they're not going to do that. That is going to bounce off of them, and it's going right back to you. So the prayers of revenge and suffering and desire to see someone else in lack and loss, they're only going to come right back to you. So this is why we see that beautiful passage that says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, it's not yours. So what it's really saying is that God works out through the spirit of karma, through the understanding of karma in the world. That's the work of the divine. It's not our work. It's what you sow, you reap, and the very laws of karma, the very spiritual laws of this world will enact and bring about that which you've sown. So that which a person has sown. So just let it be. That's not your work. You're not to get involved in that in any way, because you don't want any of that bouncing back and coming back to you. You don't want to entertain any of that. So, what we understand is that we don't want to pray for anybody anything or believe for anybody anything that we don't want for ourselves. So, we wouldn't pray that, I hope someone suffers, or I hope someone loses their loved ones, or that they're in financial loss, or I hope they punish, or they go to jail. We wouldn't want any of that, because we don't want it for ourselves. So we got a question over here.
So when you're praying for someone's highest and best, and you're believing for that, and let's say the subject of the prayer is strung out on drugs, in that state, how can they receive the goodness that you're trying to send them? You're saying that the goodness is going to go there anyway, and at some point,
yes,
they're going to respond to it.
Right. So Dr. David Carter's question is, let's say you're praying for someone and that person is on drugs. Do you believe that that prayer is going to go forth and that person will receive that which has been affirmed and believed for? Yes, yes, we do. Because otherwise we would say the power of prayer has limitation, and the power of prayer has, should we say, exceptions to its ability to accomplish, that the word goes forth always, and it always has power and strength in it, and it never returns void. So we're going to add some more to the, yes.
Okay, but the person has to be receptive, correct?
Right. So the person has to be receptive is a great comment. But what happens is we create this spirit of receptivity within that person as we surround them. So let's just say that example of the teacher working with the students who were failures. Okay. The students had a belief system that they were not smart enough,
Right.
couldn't grasp the educational experience, couldn't get the information, but the teacher held in mind and in consciousness the thought that they were successful, lived as if they were successful, spoke as if they were successful, and what happened is the students began to receive that. And let me tell you this, the power of prayer, the power of spoken word will transform drugs, any kind of obstacles in its way, because it is the power of divine source, it is the power of God, and there's nothing that can stand against it. So when we're holding in prayer, we just have to have that prayer that's unwavering, and we know in the right and perfect time. So here's again, one of our challenges is that we have is, a lot of people may think, I wanted the answer to that prayer today, right here and now. Everything happens in God's perfect time, and God's time is different than our time. God doesn't know time like we do in the sense of this physical world that we're living in. So quite often some people say, well, I've been praying for, let's just use the example of my beloved who is using drugs, and I'm believing. So are you believing 100%? Are you already seeing them as 100% well? Or are you like saying, well, I would invite them to dinner, but I know they're on drugs. Or I'd have them come to my house, but, they're on drugs, and I just don't want that drug life around me. Wait a minute, that's not holding in consciousness. That the state of mind that you believe to be true. So you would say to that beloved loved one, saying, I'm inviting you over to dinner because I see you in your highest and best, and I need to verbally affirm that, and I need to see the highest and best unfolding. So come to my house. Come right now. I want to see you because I see already you are overcoming this drug addiction. And I'm living as if, and I speak as if. And I'm going to say, hey, good to see you, honey. I'm going to give you a big hug. I'm so happy that you are just doing so well in your life, that you are just overcoming this battle you have with drugs. And I'm loving you and seeing you this way. So it's living from that perspective. And that voice, that thought, that belief, all of that coupled together is the energy that's helping to bring about the answer. And then the more that is being brought forth, it's working against, that's sending out this vibrational frequency to that person who is on this drug addiction. And they're beginning then to receive it. Yes. And then we'll go to Ann.
Okay, so we're responsible for them being drug addicted? Just in the sense that if I'm not praying for the person, let's just say I'm just not involved, so I'm not praying for the highest and best, then whose responsibility is it for that person to awaken to who they truly are? Is it on them or on all their loved ones and them?
Right. So we know that everybody's on an individual journey.
Right.
So we know that. But we also know we do have a responsibility to build up one another and to hold each other in the highest and best. What people do with that is up to them. That's their choice and their pathway, okay? Such as, parents can do the best they can to teach their children to be successful in life, but the child may choose a path that's not successful. So, we've held it to our responsibility. We've done our part. There's a two-part in that, and that person has to also go through the path. But we can hold in mind the highest and best for that child, even while they're going through that pathway, because in the right and perfect time, the answer is already there. We already see that. And so I can't emphasize, I love to use my son, all the time as an example, but my son, when he was young, made some choices that always weren't the best. But I began to pray and believe that the highest and best was his. And unfolding didn't happen right away because he was on that pathway. And part of it, the pathway was him having to learn how to make good decisions himself. Now, the end result is he's a great dad. He's an amazing person of loving care and compassion. I'm so proud of him. And I feel the answer to that which I prayed years ago has already been fulfilled. So it happens in the right and perfect time. Does that answer the question? Okay. So we do have a responsibility, I believe, to build up everyone. That's the work that we're called to do. We're going to see that mentioned even more so in our next chapter that we're going to go to. We'll talk more about that. So, Anne's question. Yes.
My energy teacher told me to treat, as you're treating with energy, as if it were prayer. And to me, I see something like that at an energy level, which is really, to me, a soul-to-soul communication.
Yes.
It's God. And you're certainly, sometimes I'm at a loss for words. I really don't have that big a vocabulary. Or maybe my thoughts are not quite right yet. But soul to soul, I think it communicates. And it could happen overnight. It could take 10 years. But that's the soul evolving.
Right, and Anne's talking about the power of soul-to-soul communication within prayer and how important that is. Because, first of all, we are consciousness, and that is at work within us, and we're all part of the one mind of consciousness. So in that, we have this wonderful ability to connect, and we connect through the thoughts that we are transmitting, we are sending forth. We're connecting through the spoken word. We're connecting through that vibrational frequency that we're sharing. And this is the soul-to-soul communication. I love this statement. It says, nothing comes to us that is not the nature of ourselves. So we have to think about this, that what's the nature of yourself? Because you have to own it. You have to believe it. It has to be part of you. You can't give what you don't have. So in other words, what you're praying for someone else, you must also own and believe within yourself for them to be true. It has to happen within you first, because it's really difficult to believe for someone that which you don't believe in yourself about them already. So there is no destiny other than that created out of the imagination of man or woman. There is no influence outside the mind of man or woman. So let's just think about this, because no influence, we'd say, well, wait a minute, isn't culture, isn't society influencing us? Isn't television and media influencing us? It's only influencing us because in mind, we allow it to influence us, because it's happening in mind. So we're entertaining. We may watch, you watch a horror show and it's full of all kinds of frightening scenes, and you've entertained the fear. And you've allowed it to come into mind, and then you wonder why you're having a nightmare at night. And you say, well, it was because of the television. No, it was because you entertained in mind those thoughts. Now, some people can actually watch the news and all the alarming stuff that's going on and negative stuff and words, and not entertain that. I've encountered lots of people who use the news as a time of prayer. That when they hear something negative, they cancel, and speak the positive. And they use this as time, okay, now I know what to pray for. I'm praying for health and wholeness in a world that's facing a pandemic. I now know what to pray for. I'm not embracing fear because I hear this. I don't entertain the words of fear in mind. I don't allow that to influence my life, but by thinking in that way. Instead, I use this time to pray and believe for the highest and best, and hold in mind that I see an alternative outcome. I see goodness. I see all kinds of blessing happening within. So this is why the scripture says, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. So think about things that are lovely, things that are good, of good report, and of virtue. If there's anything to be praised and uplifted, to be celebrated, think on those things. Let your thoughts be full of that, because that's what's shaping your destiny. Because as you begin to think of life from that perspective, you begin to imagine the highest and best. You begin to visualize it. And this is faith in action, awakening a great possibility for you. Never accept as true of others what you do not want to be true for yourself. So never accept of truth, okay, let's just use that prayer request that you named. I'm not accepting as true that for the rest of my beloved friend's life that he's going to be on drugs, because I don't want to be on drugs. I believe that he's going to have the highest and best unfolding in his life, and because that's what I want for me. And what I want for my beloved is the same goodness that I want for myself. So I hold that in mind and live from that. I speak it, I think it, I allow that to occupy my mind 100%. To awaken a state within someone else, it first must be awakened within you. So if you're going to awaken healing, recovery, prosperity, success, blessing within someone else, first of all, you've got to awaken it within yourself. The state that you want to transmit to another can be transmitted only if it's believed by you. Again, so the author is emphasizing, repeating this over and over again. Do you believe it? Because if you don't believe it, then don't pray it. Don't ask for it, because you're wasting your breath. It's going to fall flat. Boom. But you can transmit the power of faith. You can send it forth in power and authority when you believe it to be true. Beliefs invariably awaken what they affirm. So if this belief affirms healing, beliefs affirms recovery, if this belief affirms success, if this belief affirms prosperity, well, beliefs will awaken that, and awaken that in the world around us. Okay, we've got another question coming through.
Hashirumi asked, is it possible for someone to really leave drugs?
Is it possible for someone to really leave drugs? Yes, it is. It is possible for recovery. We've seen this in numerous people's lives. I, as a pastor of 42 years, have seen amazing recovery as people leave alcohol addiction, drug addiction, sex addictions, addictions of all types. We could go on with the list. The road of recovery is possible. God, the infinite power and divine source, is always unfolding the highest and best when we allow it. Good question. Thank you, Hashirumi. Thank you for asking. All the way from Bangladesh, we have a student today. We're glad to have you with us as well. All right, let's move on. The next chapter is entitled Good Tidings. I love this chapter. The ancient Hebrew scriptures, the writing says from the book of Isaiah 52, how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that brings good tidings. Let's break that down. What's this passage of ancient truth telling us? How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of them that bring good news. First of all, we look at feet as the metaphor of that which you are being grounded upon, that which you stand upon. Your feet are that which support you as you rise up to walk. Your feet are that which are guiding you, shall we say, step by step in a pathway. So how beautiful is your grounding? How beautiful is your foundation of those who have risen up unto the mountains, and the mountains being that higher consciousness, that greater awakening, that higher understanding of truth. When you've come to this higher understanding of truth, you are grounded in a place that's really beautiful. And you now speak from a beautiful place. How beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news is a translation within. So you may think, well, wait a minute, I look at my feet and they ain't that pretty, and I'm trying to speak some good news. I go and ask for someone to do a pedicure, and they go, oh, we got some work to do, honey. I can't say that not physically my feet are beautiful. No, that's not what it's saying. It's talking about your foundation, your stance, that which you're being grounded on. Yes, Anne has a question.
When I was writing last night, I was trying to define grounding, because that's a really important part of energy medicine, is being grounded in it and also grounding your client. But it's I saw it as being stable or focused,
right,
no matter what else is going on around you. It's
grounding, being stable and focused, no matter what's going on around you.
Is that okay?
Yes,
okay.
Excellent. Yes, lots of times in spiritual work, people will say, let's take off our shoes and let's just get our toes into the ground and to feel the earth below us. Quite often, great spiritual teachers will encourage us, you need to walk barefoot more often. to move across the earth, to feel this sense of groundedness with all that is of this universe, to sense it from the feet coming, rising all up through your body. And that's a beautiful sense of being a way to find a grounding within us. And being grounded in that which we stand upon, the earth, being grounded upon that which we stand upon spiritually, truth. Did you have a comment, Anne?
Sorry.
No, we love your comments.
The ancient Egyptians worshiped the sun. And
Ancient Egyptians worship the sun.
In pranic healing, we learned a way to ground, and that is to take your shoes off and go out in the grass, not on the asphalt or anything, but on Mother Earth. I don't know why, but you put your left foot forward a little bit to your right. You raise your hands to the sun, and you let the energy from the sun come into your hands and let it flow into your body and down in. And that, I've tried that. It really works. I mean, it really grounds you, makes you what I call sensible for the moment,
Anne's talking about being grounded again, taking your shoes off and going out in the grass and allowing all of nature to flow, in the energy to flow in you and through you, and how powerful that is for our lives. Because when we are grounded, both in the energy of this world, we're open then to be grounded even more so in the sense of what is truly true for our lives. So then, how beautiful is the grounding that we see, or is the foundation of any person who's bringing about good news, good tidings, that bring about peace, that brings good words of good, that brings about salvation, meaning liberation from any kind of bondages within our life. So what this passage is really addressing is something we had talked about just a little bit earlier. Our calling is to bring a good word, a good thought to one another. This really is our responsibility. It's spoken of in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 12 in the New Testament. Their responsibility is to equip God's people to do his work and to build up the church, to build up the body of Christ until we all reach unity. So what we're seeing is we have a responsibility to build up one another, not tear down, but to build up. So this is why we gather together and assemble together as a community. Why do we come together for our celebration services? But to build one another up. So when we come together, we offer hugs when we're not social distancing. And we offer words of grace, peace, and love. We are encouraging. We ask, how you doing? We compliment. We uplift. We celebrate the spirit of encouragement and love that rises and brings people up to a new level until we all reach this sense of unity, meaning oneness, sense of being one in the divine love, one, all connected together. So this is an important work that we're called to do. So no matter what's going on in the world around us, no matter what sickness, illness, challenges we may experience in family, friends, community, or the world, our work is to build up one another, build each other up, not with words of fear and doubt and negativity and condemnation, but to lift up one another, share loving, kind words, and see the body of Christ, the body of believers, the body of people of spiritual journeys that are diverse, all coming together in a sense of oneness. Now, an effective way to bring good tidings to one another is to do this sort of spiritual practice, to call before your mind's eye an image in thought, in mind, of the person you wish to help, and to affirm that he or she has done what you desire them to do or to experience. And mentally hear them or him or her tell you that, it's been accomplished or it is done. Now this helps us visualize an image, to see with eyes and ears of faith that it is so. So we're sort of like doing this sort of visualization and imagination. I'm seeing my loved one say, I was successful today. I feel prosperous today. I am loved and I feel immense love. I feel healing today. Well, whatever we've been believing for them, we begin to see a visualization of them speaking to us, saying to us that which we've been praying and believing for in their life, coming into fruition. And it helps us then move to this level of greater visualization and imagination of it being so. So let me throw this out to you. I love the author saying to us that talking to yourself can be one of the most fruitful forms of prayer. Great. I'm glad to know that because, quite often I'm at a stop sign and this person looks at me and thinks, what's going on in their car? And I've been talking to myself and suddenly I look over and go, oops, they probably think I'm crazy, But, I can say now it was the most, I've been praying, fruitful form of prayer, And previously I was like, when I realized that, I was like, pretend like I'm singing along, turn up the radio, yeah, good beat, like it, yeah, I'm not crazy, yeah, right. But how often is we may be talking to ourselves, and here's what's really important to us is that doing the mental work of bringing about the correct thought to your mind is important. You have a mental discussion with yourself. If needed, do this. When you say, Paul, that's not right. Paul, this is the right way. Think this way. The correct way of thinking. The highest and best. Paul, that's a doubtful thought. Remove that right now. Paul, what are you doing even thinking this negative, discouraging thing? Why are you at fear? You know better than that. I got to slap myself up a little bit sometimes because I'm having this dialogue with myself, which can be some of the most fruitful forms of prayer where I'm moving to the place where I'm erasing doubts and fears, where I'm no longer, as the psalmist writes, leaning on my own understanding. Instead, I am telling myself, remember, just trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. So this dialogue can be a wonderful way, a fruitful form of prayer in your life. And also the author brings about this, don't have a mental argument with the person that you're praying for. A mental argument with the image of another person is the surest way to pray for an argument to unfold. The surest way that when you meet them, you're going to be already in an argumentative mindset. So don't have this kind of pray, I'm praying for, I'm going to use your example again. I'm praying for my beloved one who is on drugs. And I know they're saying, yeah, well, I'm going to stay on drugs and you can have your thought and I'll have my way. And then you're arguing back and forth and you say, but I'm believing. Yeah, well, you can believe all you want because it's not going to affect me. And you're having this argument back and forth in mind. And before you know it, what you've done is you moved away from the place of really being able to affirm and believe it to be so because you've allowed this mental discussion argument to go on instead of just holding in consciousness. I see, I speak, I live life from the total 100% perspective that all is good and all is well, health and wholeness are possible, success is there for that beloved one. Now, what we know is that man or woman creates him or herself out of their imagination. You create your world, everything, your reality, about that which you're holding in mind. Imagination. Because imagination is the very essence of all reality. It begins by holding in mind. Again, we can't emphasize enough this beautiful saying that says, that which you hold in mind produces in like kind. That which you've got in mind is going to produce the very same in your life, in your reality. So the big question as we conclude today's study is, what are you imagining yourself, for yourself and for others today? What are you imagining? What are you visualizing? What are you thinking about? What are you holding in thought for yourself and for others? Because that's what's shaping today. That's what's shaping your future. So let's make sure that we put that all in check. As we look back at this beautiful class today, we've talked about the law of thought transmission and how these thoughts, prayer thoughts, are going forth all around the world. They're sending forth in vibrational frequency and attracting and unfolding that which we have sent forth to be true. And how important it is that we lift up, build up one another and take responsibility for that. Now, knowing this, let's ask, what's your takeaway? What did you receive from today's class discussion? What stuck with you? What's one aha moment that spoke to you out of this class time. Or if you've got a question, please take a moment and type that in. We appreciate that because we'd love to have some exchange with you and have a chance to find out, what did you get out of this time that we shared together? We're going to go around the room while we're waiting for everyone to have the opportunity to type in their thoughts, questions, or takeaways. And we're going to ask from each and every one who's here, what's your takeaway? What spoke to you? So let's go around the room and let's start over here with Brenda. What spoke to you today?
I'm trying to help myself to watch my life as it unfolds, but not to really get involved in it, because I don't want to be involved in the uncertainty.
Right.
I just want to be able to look at life and look at my life in a detached way so that I don't become part of that.
Beautiful. Brenda's takeaway is that she wants to look at her life, not being attached to the negativity or the circumstances, but to look at it and sort of be the observer, looking down and say, oh, look, there's Brenda, and see how she's doing, and being that consciousness that guides and shapes the journey of your life, rather than being caught up in the day-to-day physical and allowing that uncertainty of the world to impact your life. Excellent takeaway. Wonderful. Let's go to Dr. David Carter. What's your takeaway today?
After prayer, I am no longer seeking. I am now living in the assumption of the wish fulfilled.
After prayer, I am no longer seeking. No longer seeking. I'm living in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. Excellent takeaway. Thank you. Let's go to Steve Ginn. And he's helping with our multimedia today. So tell us what your takeaway is.
That most of our lives we've had a mindset of, I don't have, therefore I need to get.
Right.
And we need to be thinking of it as, I already have, therefore I need to realize.
Beautiful. So let me share that for the camera again. Most of our life we've had this thinking that I don't have, and so I need to get. And we're trying to get, instead of realizing I already have, and I just need to realize, let it unfold. I already possess. I possess. I want to tell you this, you possess great success for your business, for your individual life. You possess great wisdom, insight. You're smart. You're intelligent. You possess great love. You already possess all the patience, the power of forgiving. You possess great grace, kindness, and compassion. It's already there. It just has to be realized. And let it unfold from your life. And wow, as you begin to exercise those muscles of love and faith and grace and forgiveness and patience and all these wonderful things, you're going to find them just pumping up and growing to be even bigger and bigger. Let's go over here to Anne and share with you, what's your takeaway today?
Well, I am fully equipped, awakened, because it feels like I've got my tool belt on, my carpenter's belt on, and I've got all the tools I need. Every once in a while, I just need somebody to show me how to use that little saw or
I love
that
it.
little tool that's in my tool belt. But it's all there. And, the thought, I'm fully equipped, that's awesome.
Anne's takeaway is the thought, I'm fully equipped. She sees herself as someone with a tool belt, having all these tools there, and she's just got to reach for them and use them, but sometimes needs a little guidance as to how to use one of those tools to be more proficient. But she's equipped and equipped with everything that she needs. I love that takeaway. Great. Let's go to Amy. What's your takeaway?
Thought is energy, so prayer is directed energy. And
Thought is energy, so prayer is directed energy.
And heaven is my own subconscious. So we create our own heaven and earth, and then when we're no longer in the physical, we create our own heaven when we're not in the physical, when we left this body, which is all the more reason to practice love and kindness, not hate and violence. Because if you do that it seems to me if you're concentrating on hate and violence against others, that your heaven when you leave the body is going to be, pretty chaotic and pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, could be a version of hell. You create your own hell.
We create our own
I
hell.
believe in
Yes.
hell as a place.
It's a consciousness.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So heaven is a consciousness is Amy's wonderful takeaway, and that when we really look and examine how are we seeing that unfolding for us? Where we create this wonderful essence of more of the divine, the heaven experience expands as we allow to go deep within our subconscious mind. Beautiful. Excellent. Let's go to David Carter. He's got questions coming to us from the live streaming audience.
Sue Stack.
Sue Stack.
Okay. Vibe to the energy to which you are manifesting. Release old energy, or we will repeat the lesson of contrast.
Great. So let me see if I can say that again for those out in live streaming. Can you say it again?
Vibe to the energy to which you are manifesting.
Vibe to the energy to which you are manifesting. Send out that vibration to that which you desire to manifest.
Release old energy, or we will repeat the lesson.
Release all the old energy, or you're going to be destined to repeat the old lesson again. Beautiful. Thank you, Sue. Appreciate that takeaway. We got another over here.
Yes. Bruce Ellis.
Bruce
Love
Ellis.
Everyone, soul-to-soul communication. Amen to that.
Soul-to-soul communication. Bruce is coming to us from California. Excellent. Great to have you with us today. Good. We've got students from all around the United States and literally around the world joining us. And for those of you who are joining us through the live streaming, we're so glad that you're with us. Now, if you'd like to have copies of notes, please send us your email address and we'll send you out the notes in advance of each class session so you can follow along. We greatly appreciate you joining us and hope that you enjoyed today's class teaching from the Neville Reader. Wonderful writings by amazing author Neville Goddard. We hope you'll join us again next Thursday at 10 a.m. for this class coming to you from Emerson Theological Institute at City of Light. Know that you can take these classes for a credit towards a degree. Simply reach out to us and our registrar will send you the information. You can earn a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctorate in metaphysical studies, and you can learn all kinds of amazing things just simply by also auditing our classes. But if you'd like that degree, the program is available for you. Reach out to us and let us know how we can best help you as we design the perfect life that's ready to unfold for you. So we help you design that personally in your own pathway. Now, we're glad that you're with us. We'll see you again next week. Join us Sunday at 11 a.m. for our celebration service. You'll find us in the same places where you've just found us here. And now we're also on YouTube. So the YouTube channel is called City of Light Atlanta. And if you check us out on YouTube, all these classes and our Sunday services are available there. So you may find friends who say, I'm not on Facebook. I don't have Facebook capabilities, but I can go to YouTube. So look for us there and spread the good word about all these opportunities for spiritual enrichment. God bless you. I'm holding in consciousness the highest and best for you. I'm believing for something amazing to happen in your life. I see you successful, prosperous, healthy, whole, and in loving relationships. And so it is. God bless you. Have a great day.